My name is Francis, and if you're new to this channel, consider hitting that subscribe button and that notification bell because I post a new video every single day. If you want to become a private client, then consider applying for a free consultation by hitting the website that's in the description box of this video. I also wanted to announce that my mindfulness group coaching program is now open, so if you want to be part of the class, hit the link that's in the description box of this video. In this video, what I wanted to share with you is how to let go of negative emotion. Okay, the true way to actually let go of negative emotion and stop attaching to negativity, because most people attach unconsciously to negative emotion. They're not able to just let it go. They can't just let go. And there's this clinging to attach and not let go, which is making things even worse and creating even more of it longer than necessary. Because negative emotion is just an indicator that you are resisting and you're attached to something. There's some level of attachment to that negative emotion. But the key is to have the awareness and realize that you don't actually have to be attached to it. Because if you have awareness of the fact that you have negative emotion, then you won't be attached to it. And some people think that they have awareness, but they just know that they have negative emotion. That's not what awareness is. Awareness is literally taking a step back and becoming the observer of that negative emotion and just allowing it to be there. And then in that allowing is actually the letting go. Because you can't let go of something that you're not conscious of to begin with. And most people don't know how to become conscious of their negativity and let it go. Because it's not just about the negativity that arises in that moment, but it's about the negativity that you were attached to that sparked it in that moment. Because we all have something that we're clinging onto and carrying, and that situation just brought it out. That situation just triggered that emotion. It was just a trigger. And people don't realize that there's these triggers that are making us react to situations. Eckhart Tolle calls us the pain body. We have these pain bodies that we're attached to, and people don't realize that this pain body is actually an opportunity for you to let it go and awaken to a higher level of consciousness and become more present to the moment. But people don't see it like this. They have that emotion, they cling, they attach, and even though at some deeper level they obviously don't want negativity, their ego is invested in that identity that they've built for themselves. So even though at a deeper level you don't want negativity, there's some weird part of you that does. Because if you didn't want negativity, you would just let it go. But there's some kind of identity that's attached to that negativity, not allowing you to find out who you actually are beyond that negativity. What's your true self? Who are you actually? Because that negativity is nothing more than a mask. It's a story. It's not the situation that brought out the negativity. It's your story and your reaction and the story that you tell yourself about the situation. It's all just a facade. It's all a creation of your mind. Your mind is literally creating this story, making things way worse than they need to be, and it's all coming from a lack of consciousness. Because if you had consciousness, if you had awareness, you would have the ability to just notice that negativity, be like, oh, okay, this is happening for me because this is a trigger. I'm supposed to let go of this past thing that I'm holding on to. But most people don't see it like that. They have that negativity, they attach, they resist. Not only are they resisting the moment, but they're resisting the resistance to the moment. So not only are they reacting, but they're reacting to their reaction and they're attached to the situation being the way that it is. Instead of just accepting what is, which is the most logical thing to do, even though the mind will convince itself why it's not, something is happening and your mind tells you why it shouldn't be happening. Maybe you lose your job. Maybe something happens in your family. Maybe there's a conflict that arises. And we always want to run away from that conflict. Especially if you're into law of attraction, you're thinking, oh, I need to be positive. I can't face this negativity. I can't go into this. I can't go into this negativity. I have to, just think positive. I can't face this. But the reality is that unless you face it fully, observe it, let it go, then you're going to be holding on to it for the rest of your life. Because some people always say, okay, well, if I'm trying to manifest, if I'm trying to use law of attraction, doesn't that mean that I have to think positively? But the problem is that why are you not thinking positively naturally? Why do you have to tell yourself to think positive? Why do you have to convince yourself to think positive? That assumes that there's something in you that's not positive already because you're attached to negativity. So this isn't just how do I stop negativity in this moment. I could record a video and explain some techniques on how to remove negativity in this moment, but it's going to be the same thing as letting go of all that negativity that you're attached to in the long term as well. And it comes from awareness and consciousness. Just simply being aware of that negativity and allowing it to be there. And when I say be aware, I'm not saying to feed into it unconsciously. I'm saying that you can literally create a spaciousness between you and the situation, between you and your own thoughts about the situation. Because usually it's not the situation that creates the negativity, but it's our internal interpretation of the situation that creates the negativity. Our interpretation and story about the situation is creating the negativity. When you can take a step back and become the spaciousness and the awareness, meditation is really good to take this to another level. You can create that spaciousness. You can stop attaching to the negativity, create that spaciousness, just fully feel it, fully move into that feeling, and then allow it to be there. But the awareness is the allowing, because you can't let go of something that you're not conscious of. So as you're aware, then you already are allowing. Don't just tell yourself, I accept the situation. Create that space of consciousness, and you'll be able to let it go in a much easier way. And the more that you do this, the more that you'll notice that it's much easier to actually let go of negativity in your life. It's a lot easier than you might think. We just make it difficult because we're attached to the outcome. Our egos are invested. Our egos are actually invested in the situation, making things a lot harder, making things a lot worse than they really need to be, and we're just adding fuel to the fire. Because we're invested in not only that situation not being the way that it is, we want some situation to be some other way than it is, but we're also invested in our own thoughts. And even though you may not think that you want negativity, your ego thrives off of anger, off of fear, off of guilt, because there's something that you're holding on to, not allowing you to fully integrate that part of yourself, let it go, and then move to a higher level of awareness where you will feel present naturally instead of trying to think positive all the time. Because you don't have to try to think positive. You just have to let go of the negativity that's not allowing you to naturally feel positive and naturally be on a good vibration. Your natural state is actually to be on a high vibration. That's your natural state. You should naturally already feel positive. You shouldn't have to try to make yourself feel positive. You should naturally already feel it. So what's blocking that? All that crap that you're holding on to. All that crap that you can't let go because your little ego is just holding on, and it's so important that I have to hold on to this negativity because it's so goddamn important to me. That's your ego. Your ego is just like, yeah, I need to hold on to this. I have to react. I have to be angry. I have to be right because my sense of pride actually depends on this. You think that you have to hold on to the negativity. You don't actually, if I was to ask you, do you want to feel negative? You would say, no, I don't want to feel negative. But then in that moment, when your family starts yelling at you or something happens, you lose your job, what happens? The ego comes out. You start arguing with people. You don't create that boundary for yourself internally and externally. You fall into that negative energy. You start arguing. And before you know it, you only realize what happened after it's all done. Because you actually want to be angry to some extent. You want to feel negative. The ego wants that. It's actually not that you want the negativity, but your ego does. And your ego is not separate from you, but it becomes this false external force in a way, like an entity. And it's not actually an entity, but it almost seems like it when you're unconscious of it. Because when you're unconscious of your ego, it's almost it's like reacting to things automatically. You're not making a conscious decision to respond, but you're automatically feeding into the situation depending on where your ego is and how invested you are through the anger and the fear and anxiety and the guilt. So the true way to actually let go of your negativity is to become conscious of it and fully allow it to be there, just fully bathe in it. This is why meditation is so powerful, because the days that you don't want to meditate the most and the days that you don't want to stay present to the moment and fully allow that emotion to be there is the days that you should be the most present, because that's where the most growth actually happens. Because there's going to be some days where you might feel negative, but you're not going to want to sit in that negativity and just fully allow it to be there. You're going to want to distract yourself and go do something exciting because your ego can't face it. But then the problem is that if you don't face it, you're going to be carrying that energy field with you everywhere that you go. It's just going to be coming with you everywhere. And that's a serious issue. If you don't actually face that negativity head on and look at your inner demons, so to speak, all that stuff that we don't want to look at, then it's going to be with you everywhere that you go until you choose to become conscious of it and let it go. So the days that you don't want to meditate are the days that you should actually be meditating the most and fully embodying that. And from a law of attraction perspective, you might be thinking, well, why would I fully make myself feel negative? You're not making yourself feel negative. You already were negative in the background. You just weren't conscious of it. You're bringing it to conscious awareness so that you can let it go and then naturally feel positive without forcing yourself to feel positive, because you let go of the things that you were attached to. Most people don't want to do this because it's difficult, but it's going to be more difficult to carry that energy with you everywhere that you go. So this might seem difficult. Sometimes you might feel negative. You might not want to meditate. You might not want to feel fully, you might not want to fully feel that negative emotion that you feel. But the problem is that even though that might be difficult, I promise to you that it's going to be more difficult to carry that energy with you for the rest of your life into all situations, because it's always going to block you from what you truly want. That negativity is going to block the law of attraction from working in your life. It's going to create resistance. It's not going to allow you to naturally feel positive and be connected to the present moment all the time without forcing things, without forcing yourself to be present. You could just be present to the moment and enjoy the process of meditating. But the only way to get there is to let go of all that crap that we don't want to face. You have to just face it. And the best way to face it is to disidentify from it and just allow it to be there. I'm not saying you have to let yourself feel negative. I'm not saying that you feed into the anger. I'm saying that you take a step back and you allow it to be there and you find full acceptance. But the awareness is the acceptance. As you become the observer, as you create that spaciousness, that also implies that you're already accepting. The awareness and the spaciousness that you create in that situation is also the acceptance at the same time. There's no difference between being aware fully of something and fully accepting it. Because if you're resisting it, that means you're not aware anymore and you're back in your mind. Resistance implies a state of unconsciousness and being identified with something. If you're not identified with anything, you're not resisting. You're just allowing it to be there. And you're not attached to the form. Whether that form be a thought or a feeling or an emotion, or you losing your cat, or you losing your job, or you having a life situation that flips. If you're not attached internally to something in your mind, or even something on the external, which the two are connected, if you're not attached, you release the resistance to it. The resistance implies that you're attached. If you're attached to something, then comes the resistance. But if you're the witnessing presence, you know who you are at a deeper level, which is just pure consciousness and awareness. You're not actually this form. You're not actually your body. You're not your mind. You're not your feelings, not your emotions. You're just the consciousness and the witness in the background. But it's not just enough to understand this intellectually, but to embody this truth so that you can let go of the negativity and naturally feel positive and let go of the things that are blocking you from feeling positive naturally, that are also blocking your manifestations from coming in and your dream life. You just have to become conscious of that negativity so that you can let it go, and naturally you will let it go. In the rising of your awareness, naturally you will let go of things. So instead of focusing on how do I think positively, how do I let go of this negativity, think about how do I become the most aware and the most conscious in this present moment so that naturally I let go of these things and naturally I feel present. I'm not even telling you to force anything. Don't force a negative past trauma to come up. Don't force yourself to be positive. Just be present with what is in this moment, and naturally you will let go, because something will happen in your life that will trigger that negativity, but you'll be present with that and you'll let it go. So you don't have to go into your room and consciously bring up past trauma. You can do that if you want, but it's not necessary, because you're going to be forcing things. The better way to do it would just to be as present as you can when you're meditating, also in every single moment in your life. And naturally, you'll just let go of all the things that don't serve, including negative emotion, including anger, including fear, anxiety, worry, even bad habits. As you become more conscious, you'll even let go of bad habits, toxic relationships that aren't serving you anymore. And naturally, your life will just start to align in an easier way because of that awareness. But the awareness is the key here, which will be the foundation to actually let go of that negativity. Okay, so that's all I have for you today. If you like this kind of content, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, because I post a new video every single day. Once again, if you want to become a private client, hit the link that's in the description box of this video. Once again, I wanted to announce that my mindfulness group coaching program is now open. So if you want to be a part of the class, hit the link that's in the description box of this video. Hit that like button if you find this kind of content useful and valuable. Have yourself a great day and see you in the next video.